We've been talking a lot about the 5 kingdoms of life, and we've really been using them as the way of classifying all living things. But actually, the 5 kingdoms that you can see here are actually an outdated way of classification for living things. And actually, since the 1970s, scientists actually started to realize that the 5 kingdoms isn't the best way of classifying living things. So far, we've learned that the Monera, we include them in a separate group called the prokaryotes. And all the other 4 kingdoms we put into the eukaryotes because their cells have organelles. Eukaryotes. But in the 70s and 80s, scientists realized that actually the Monera really consists of 2 different groups. And those groups aren't actually closely related to each other. So they realized the Monera should really be 2 different groups. And that's because they discovered all these other types of organisms that are like bacteria, but they're actually quite different when they got down to looking at the DNA. And this group is called the Archaea. And the first place that scientists discovered Archaea was in hot springs, like the one you can see here. So Archaea can survive really, really hot temperatures, really cold temperatures. They can survive at the bottom of the ocean where there are volcanoes erupting on the sea floor that release lots of chemicals. So the Archaea can survive in really extreme environments. That's what we thought originally. But as our technology has got better, we've realized that actually Archaea are everywhere that bacteria are too. So we find them in forests, we find them in the ocean, and some of them even live inside our guts, just like the good bacteria in our guts too. So Archaea are just as widespread as bacteria, and they look just the same as bacteria too when we look at them with an electron microscope. But the key differences are in their DNA and the way their cell chemistry works. And the biggest discovery, and in 1990, this was one of the biggest changes in classification, that scientists discovered that actually Archaea are more closely related to the eukaryotes than to other bacteria. So even though they're prokaryotes, they're actually more similar to all the other eukaryotes, like the animals, the plants and the fungi, than to other bacteria. So the new classification scheme that we've been using since 1990 is called the ThreeDomain classification. Because the 3 domains that we group life into now, they are still the eukaryotes, And now instead of the Monera, we have the bacteria on their own, and then the Archaea in another domain. So the domain level is above the kingdom level. Within the eukaryotes, we still have plants, animals, and fungi, and protists. They're the kingdoms. But the domains are above that. And since eukaryotes and Archaea are more closely related, we need to think of the actual family tree of these domains and how they link together. So, out on its own branch in the tree of life, we have the bacteria. And then on the other branch, we have the Archaea and the eukaryotes, because they're more closely related to each other. So you can see that even though bacteria and Archaea are both prokaryotes, they're not actually as closely related as we thought, as we used to think.